So as I just got done doing the other video, I get a comment on here, and literally I was just about to do this. It's really crazy how this fan, whoever you are, put this out there. You should do a show on how AI positively and negatively affects the industry. Absolutely, you got it. I can say that AI has, I know I use it. It's actually transformed how I work as a business loan broker. And I'm going to show you a few different examples here. I'm going to give you 3 powerful examples on how I am currently using AI as a business loan broker in order for me to be more effective. So number 1, and I'm going to just actually show you something. So there's this client that I was working with, and the lender sends us an email telling us, can you describe what your business does? Okay. And she sends me this request that the lender is asking. And I was like, dude, this is a ChatGPT moment. Okay. So let me go ahead and hit up ChatGPT. So I'll go ahead and describe to ChatGPT, hey, I want you to give me a nice description of somebody that is in real estate sales, real estate consulting, and real estate investment firm. And you've been asked by a lender to give you a description of your business. I literally throw that prompt into ChatGPT and look what it spits out. It spits out, we're a full service real estate firm specializing in residential and commercial sales, strategic consulting, and property investments. We are assisting individuals, investors, and institutional clients identifying, acquiring, and maximizing value for real estate assets across target markets. Our core investments include real estate sales, facilitating seamless transaction for buyers and sellers, backed by insights of pricing strategies and strong network of agents and partners. Consulting, providing tailored advice to market trends, portfolio diversification, risk analysis and development, feasibility to help clients make informed decisions. Investments, structuring and managing real estate investments for capital growth and income generating, including joint ventures, syndications, and development projects. Our approach is driven by data, local expertise, and commitment to long-term client relationships. We operate with integrity, transparency, and focus on value creation, making trusted partners in real estate. And I myself, this is talking to about the client, I've been in real estate. I didn't know how long she's been in real estate, so I just told her, put on whatever. Now, I want you to see what her response is, and I'm going to pause the video because I don't want to disclose the client's name, but I want you to see what the client's response was. There you go. Of course, I crossed the client's name for personal, for obvious reasons. But she responded. She was like, whoa, this sounds amazing and much better than what I would have said. She probably didn't realize that I just used ChatGPT, But, gentlemen, the person that left that comment, this is one of the different ways that ChatGPT is literally transforming this industry. And if you're not using ChatGPT to this degree, okay, there's just something wrong with you. As a business loan broker, our job is to help the clients reach their goal. And their specific goal is to get funding, so you have to utilize ChatGPT, or at least this is one ways, going back to responding to this gentleman's email here about how I'm using ChatGPT. You should do a video on how I'm using AI. This is one of the different ways to help clients with certain things like this. I have my assistant, we just moved from another CRM, Keep Infusionsoft, to a new CRM, and I had her working on some new email templates, simple templates like, an email that goes out when clients misses an appointment, or an email that goes out, telling them reminding them to pull their credit, or reminding them to send over their bank statement, whatever it is, all these templated emails. If you're sitting there trying to come up with these emails by yourself, that's just ridiculous. You put the prompts into ChatGPT and you let ChatGPT do its thing. Okay. So one of the different ways is content writing. Whatever the content is, and by the way, I should just say, I've said it a couple of times. I am a 1.8 GPA high school graduate. Okay. I cheated my way through English. And I'm not lying when I say this. I never finished a book until I graduated high school, until I became an adult. I think I started reading a full book probably a good 5-7 years ago. Never did. Okay. So English is just not one of the things that I'm good at. Okay. I'm just not a good writer. So I think one of the different ways is, as far as how this AI thing is going to transform the industry, is huge. And how I'm implementing it, I'll just say that. I'm going to talk about some generic things, but I'm going to give you 3 examples of how I'm using ChatGPT. We're going to talk about other different things. So the next way that I use ChatGPT, if you don't know, as far as, I always talk about it. Actually, I should just say this. If you don't know, you should know. My name is Brian Mucklis Otieno. Okay. The godfather of funding. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. Okay. And we offer three paths of lending. I always say there's 3 ways on how we can help you get funded. either based on your credit, either based on your income, or either based on a particular asset that can be used as collateral. Now, let's go dive deep as to how this product's actually delivered, okay? Number one, let me go ahead and give you my full face. So number one, we're talking about credit-based lending. Credit-based lending, we're referring to credit card stacking, and we're also referring to things like personal credit cards, okay? How is that product delivered? That product, the credit card stacking product, is delivered in a very covert way, okay? There is no relationship with the lenders per se. Most lenders do not like dealing with brokers that offer this product because most lenders, obviously, understandably so, do not like the concept of stacking, okay? Because you're getting multiple different lines of credit at the same time, okay? There's such a thing as too overly extended. And, there's just, from a risk perspective, I don't think if I was a bank, I would like anybody that does stacking. So the way we do this product is we covertly submit the applications on the client's behalf. That's just basically what we do. How that application is submitted, there's a few different ways on how that's done. We used to use IP addresses. We don't use that anymore. There's a few different ways. You got to be one of my students in order to know how we deliver this. Because, some of the different things that we do right now to consistently make sure that we're getting these approvals for our clients. Because I know there's a lot of people having issues with delivering on credit card stacking. And if you're one of those people and you want to know how to stay on top of the game, I've had clients coming to me from some of my major competitors like Seven Figures and all these other people that are just not able to deliver this service anymore because of how the lenders are even using AI. You can't use IP addresses anymore. I've tried to use the proxy address. We're not going to talk about that. You guys got to enroll in the course. There's a mini course, $37, Wealthy Middleman. If you want to become an agent, we can teach you how to become an agent. And if you want to learn how to do this yourself, there's going to be a course, link in the description, scheduled to speak to me. If you want to learn, I will teach you how this product is actually delivered. But one of the different ways that I use ChatGPT in order to go ahead and execute with credit card stacking, I'm going to give you this for free. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and let you have this one. Is we use ChatGPT in order to develop the lender sequence for a client. I'm going to open one of the documents that we use, which is our master credit, our CCP, as we call it, the client credit profile. It's going to be blank because, of course, we're on YouTube here. We don't want to be sharing any sensitive information. But this is a CCP. If you haven't heard me talk about this before, this is something that we use in order to we use this from the beginning, from the evaluation process all the way through to managing all the clients. Just real quick, short history here. Credit-based stacking, there's 4 factors that lenders look for in order to determine if somebody qualifies for it. These factors are: number 1, derogatory items; number 2, utilization; number 3, age of file; and number 4 is inquiries. Okay, these are the 4 things we look for in order to determine how much somebody qualifies for, if they qualify, and all of that good stuff. So this document, this spreadsheet tracks all these things. As far as negative items, based on those 4 factors, negative items are going to be right here. Utilization is going to be calculated right here. This is the inputs of where you put the credit card name. The utilization is based on revolving accounts. You put all that information right here. The system automatically calculates everything for you as far as what the current utilization is, what the ideal balance needs to be, how much they need to pay down, and everything. Number of lates that they have, if it's a AU account or not. You need to take into account all of these things when you're trying to determine if the person is a good candidate and how much they can qualify for credit stacking. Okay, so we also track, revenue stuff. We're not going to spend too much about that. And then eventually, once that client is ready to start processing, we prepare what we call a recap report. This is a document that has the client's information as well as the personal information as well as the business information. And most importantly, we also have their projections. If you're not using projections and you're in credit card stacking, that's the reason why you're not getting your clients approved as much money as you need to get them approved. And by the way, to get back to this right here, one point that I forgot to make is one thing that we also track right here is, man, my son keeps calling me, man. Jojo, I got to call you back, okay? I'm making a video right now, and you messing up my video, man. I got to call you back, man, okay? All right, love you, man. Bye. Man, these kids. So, anyway, where's school when you need it, huh? Summertime. They just at home doing nothing. Calling, bother. We're going to get back to this. So, now, this is where I determine, and I have a formula that helps you determine exactly what that client qualifies for, okay? Because again, we don't have a direct relationship with the lender. You're not just sending a credit report to the lender as you do with real estate and revenue-based products. You're not sending a credit report and a bank statement and an application and telling, hey, how much this person qualifies for. It doesn't work like that. In order for you to determine what they qualify for, you have to initiate an application with Credit Card Stacking. Every single Credit Card Stacking app, you have to initiate an application to determine what they qualify for. But given the structure of how this business works, you need to be able to tell the clients what they get approved for. If somebody sends you a credit report, you need to have an idea what they can qualify for, okay? So things that I teach in my course, link in the description if you want to work together. Now, what happens next is, let's go move into the apps page. Once you got the recap report prepared and everything like that, you go to this section right here. What I do is, once I've determined, let's say this person qualifies for a minimum of 50 and a maximum of 75,000, I need to determine what lending sequence that I need to use in order to submit this application. Which lenders do I need to submit first? Which lenders do I need to submit next? And how do this, how are these submissions going to go through? So this is why I teach you. There's a few things you want to consider when you're developing your lending sequence. One is the client's current relationships. Okay. And how do you do that? You literally just go back to this tab right here. You'll have all the different open revolving accounts that they currently have. And if they have a great relationship with B of A, if they have a great relationship with Amex, whatever that is, you want to take into that account, take that into account when you're developing the lending sequence, when you're going to submit with that based on which lender that is. There's some lenders, like let's say they have a great relationship with B of A. I know that B of A is very, very inquiry sensitive. So I'm going to knock out B of A first. Okay. Let's just say they have a great relationship with Amex. Yeah, this is a good example. Amex doesn't pull credit if you have an account with them. Okay, they don't pull a hard inquiry. They just don't, because if you have a relationship with them. So I'm going to put that towards the bottom. But nevertheless, how do I use AI in order to, how do I use AI to do this? What I use is, I don't even, when I'm coming, I usually go to Poe and I have a certain prompt that I use. Because the way that Credit Card Stacking works is you have to go through the national lenders first, as far as all the big major national lenders, and then you go to regional lenders, and then you go to credit unions, and then you go to local lenders. So what I do is I have this certain prompt that I put in there, and this is free game for you if you're watching my videos. Now like, subscribe, okay, and send it to one of your friends or something like that. I'll go ahead and I'll put this prompt. Can you give me a list of all the national, regional, and credit unions and local banks that offer business credit cards in whatever state that is, okay? So we're going to put on here in, let's just say, Texas, okay? And look what this thing does. If you're not doing this, you're tripping. If you're doing Credit Card Stacking, you don't know what you're doing. Okay. So now I'm able to go in here and organize this. Okay. And kind of, again, come up with that list, come up with that plan, the execution plan on which lenders I'm going to be submitting next and how to. And again, take into account what current relationships they have, which state that they live into, that they live in, and a few other different factors that I'm not going to tell you right now. You got to enroll into the course in order to know all these factors. And I go ahead and come up with a list instead of sitting here every single time and trying to figure out, okay, do they lend in this state? Do they lend in that state, or whatever it is? You just come over here and you get a whole list. And this helps you complete this lending sequence, because you want to be able to have this done all the way through which lenders you're going to submit with, okay, before you start submitting. Because one of the things that I noticed that I was doing when I start submitting a client, I'd hit up the majors. I'd go to Chase, B of A, Amex, what do you call it? Bank of America. I think I already mentioned Wells Fargo. I'll hit all the majors, and then I'll go to some of the regional banks based on where the client resides. I'll go to Citizens, I'll go to PNC, I'll go to Truist, I'll go to BMO. And then after that, you want to keep on going. You want to do more. Then I hit up the credit unions, and so forth and so on. And again, I would find myself, if I didn't have the lending sequence created initially when I received the file, I would spend so much more time eventually whenever it was the next time to submit the next application, trying to decide who I'm going to submit next. So, gentlemen, ladies, whoever wrote this, think this is another way that I'm using AI in order to go ahead and execute as a business loan broker. And this allows you to, of course, break down the submissions in different phases, So hopefully that answers your question as to how I use ChatGPT in order to, to execute this. Another thing, and I'll leave you with this before I move on to some of the basic different ways that we're using ChatGPT. Have you ever, okay, if you've been in credit stacking for a while, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Have you ever been processing a client's file for a specific lender or something, and okay, and you get hit with these security questions? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And again, if you've been in credit card stacking, you know what I'm talking about. You get hit with all these security questions before you can initially finalize the application. The lender has approved the file, but you need to do the security questions, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning because you want to wake up and process your files in the morning, or it's late in the evening and the client is not available for you to call them, or you just call them and they don't answer. And they hit you with a question of, which street did you live by on that year, or next to this street, or there's just all these random security questions. What I used to use before is I would grab the client's credit report and I would go on there and I would see, I would look at the different histories and whatever it is. But some of the questions that they hit, they would ask you a question, which one of these streets did you reside by? And that's a simple thing because you go to the credit report, it has all their previous address on there. But they will ask you a question like this. They will ask you a question as, which is the cross street next to this street right here you lived by? God damn it, I don't know what the cross street is. You got to call the client to figure that out. But now with the power of ChatGPT, you literally can just type that prompt right here. In California or in LA, there is this street. This is the address. What is the cross street? And then you would give it on there the options given to you in the chat in the question prompt. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. And it will give you the answer. It allows you to basically go through the security questions on behalf of the client whenever you're stuck. Because as you know, if you've been processing before, you know what I'm talking about. Once you get to that security questions, you don't want to mess up. You don't want to increase the chances of fraud, and then it's going to take longer for that file to get approved and all these other things. So this is how I'm using ChatGPT personally. This is how I've decided to use it. Number one, with my as far as responding to lenders, coming up with really good, descriptions on certain things, or letter of explanations. How many times, especially in real estate, you have to write a letter of explanation for derogatory items, or letter of explanation for this, letter of explanation for that? I don't do that crap anymore. Okay, I'm the worst writer. I can't even spell. Okay, I use, I got all kind of stuff to help me with everything. I use ChatGPT. Okay, next, when it comes to developing a lending sequence for one of the different lenders that I use, I'm not going to be thinking about this anymore. I use ChatGPT. Okay. Another thing that I use ChatGPT for, that I'm going to start using ChatGPT for, you know what? You gotta get into the course to get that. Okay. You gotta get into the course. The link in the description if you want to go ahead and work together for sure. We offer training for business loan brokers, or if you're looking for some funding. We've been in business for since 2011, going on over 15 years now. And I've been in the lending industry even longer than that, straight out of high school. But some of the positive changes, going back to this gentleman's email. And dude, this is crazy. Let me go ahead and snitch on myself. So when you ask me this, what did I do? I go to ChatGPT. Can you give me some pointers on how AI can positively impact the business loan brokering industry? Look, I'm snitching on myself. There you go. Okay. And these is what ChatGPT told me. And I'm going to try to go through this list and kind of tell you, how I feel, disagree, or agree, or whatever it is. AI can streamline the application process with chatbots, virtual assistants, and providing instant, reducing wait times. Absolutely. We've seen how AI has been used with bank verification. If you do MCAs, Plaid, that's all AI tools. So better risk management from the lender's perspective. Absolutely. Machine learning algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data to evaluate creditworthiness more accurately, leading better lending decisions. What I have noticed is there's not that much of a heavy reliance on just what the bureaus have. Okay. You have certain people that are, doing inquiry cleanup. They're doing this. They try to, this tricks of almost, they don't work as effectively as they used to before. You could do credit card stacking, get $50,000 to $100,000, do inquiry cleanup, go to another different lenders, do the same thing again, or run the same play again with a different corporation. It's getting a little tricky these days because, again, there's all these machine learning algorithms that analyze vast amounts of data to evaluate creditworthiness more accurately for the lenders. There's personalized loan offers. AI can analyze customers' data and tailor loan products individually, needs improving satisfaction and conversion rates. Absolutely, I've seen that happening. And I think sometimes this AI tools fail. We've seen it with Kalana or whatever. What's that company's name that does Kalana? that does the short-term loans, they're not doing so well. And I'm pretty sure they have some type of AI tools, because they don't even check credit. They have some type of AI tools that that pretty much helps them determine risk. And I don't think that AI tools is working. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So anyway, fraud detection. The AI system can identify unusual patterns and flag potential fraud activities, enhancing both brokers and clients. I have seen this with the reason why we can't use IP addresses to be able to submit these applications. I used to have, Hide My Ass is the IP address that I use. I've used this for years. When I say years, I mean years. Okay. So when I have credit card stacking clients, when I'm submitting the applications on your behalf, and I want everybody to know, if you don't know, you should know now. When you're working with a broker that is doing credit card stacking, they're literally submitting applications on your behalf. That's just basically what they do. But they've made this so challenging now that you can't use, VPNs anymore. The lenders are aware about all these VPN tools and everything. Where is it at? Here's my VPN. Why is it not coming up to the forefront? Come to the in front of the congregation, Mr. Hide My Ass. You bring your butt to the front of the congregation. This is an AI tool that I use, and basically it has IP address for every single state. But the lenders, utilizing some of the different AI tools that they have, they basically almost do not accept applications coming from IP addresses anymore. I know if you've been in credit card stacking, especially with dealing with Amex, you've been getting a lot of that $2,000 approvals that Amex does. It's just ridiculous. And Amex used to be, one of the best ones out there. And Amex right now is just not really giving the approvals that they used to anymore, and I know that's due to the AI system and the tools that the lender is using. Automation, and of course, from the lender's perspective, they're trying to limit risk. Okay, for us as business loan brokers, it's made our job, a little bit more challenging as far as getting those high approvals. I've gotten so many people, especially, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it, 7 figures. You guys, you need to go ahead and purchase my course. Okay, great competitor, but I've gotten so many clients have gone through your program and they say they were promised this and they didn't get nothing. Okay, I don't know what you guys are doing, but you probably need to go ahead and purchase my course so you can go kind of get an understanding of the new way of how this stuff works. Negative impacts that this has had. Job displacement. Of course, automation leads to reduced demand in traditional loan brokers, potentially displacing jobs in the industry. Yes, it will. It absolutely will. And especially if you're not keeping up with what's going on and updating and upgrading your training, if you're not updating, how you execute, data privacy, bias algorithms. If AI models are trained to be biased data, they may perpetuate discrimination in leading practices, impacting undeserved communities. We've seen that happening with the way even AI's perspective of black and white, if you tell AI to, but I think what AI is using is gathering the data based on the information that's out there. So the people's perception, some of the content that's been out, that's what AI is doing, and if black people are known to have bad credit and white people are known to have better credit, then that's, I hate to kind of be racial because I don't do the racial things, but come on, let's just be honest here. Let's just be real from a percentage standpoint. Okay, more minorities have bad credit than. Let's move on. Over-reliance on technology. Brokers can become overly dependent on AI, losing personal touch, and helps build trust and rapport. Absolutely. I definitely do agree with that. Especially with right now, the SEO game it's all bullshit AI. None of these contents, even some of the news articles that are written out here, they're written by AI. Writers have lost it. There's no writers anymore. It just doesn't work. Website, do you think people are writing website copy just manually? It's just not happening. Okay. Even I think sales copy right now, there's some sales, tool AIs that they're just amazing. You saw the comment from, one of my clients that I did. Wow, this is amazing. Much better than what I would have said. Okay. And there's no way that you can, really challenge a computer. Nevertheless, I hope I answered your question really good. I appreciate you for bringing me that topic to this video. So coming right up, 48 minutes after your comment, I've already made another video. Okay, we are getting productive over here. All right, thank you so much, and I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one.